Okay, here we have a 1996 Ford F-250 Powerstroke, and today I want to give y'all some tips on doing your oil cooler. First thing you want to have is a bunch of extensions with a 10mm. Go right up in through here, and you get your first header off, 2 bolts. Anytime coming underneath the vehicle, I recommend using clear safety glasses. The first things you're gonna want to do, you're gonna want to drain your coolant, that pitcock. You can put a tube on there and catch it all and reuse it if you want. Of course, drain your oil. And now, this is your oil filter header. A lot of people will drain their coolant, the leftover coolant, from this little drain bolt right here. I would recommend not even messing with that. What I would do, and what you must do before you take off this header, is remove your, of course, your block heater cord, and remove your block heater. I believe that's 1 1/8 inches, I believe. You want to get that out of there. More coolant's going to come out, because when you're putting this back together, this is going to prevent you from putting it back together right, and you will damage your other mounting gasket to this oil filter header. Then you should already have that header off and undone by the time. It's not going to go anywhere. And then you take out your block heater, take off the 3 bolts that hold this header down, and of course your oil filter shouldn't be there. It wouldn't be there. And then you want to remove your oil filter header, and the whole thing will be, it's all going to be one piece, and it should come out. You'll have to finagle it out of there. I didn't have to lift my engine, I didn't have to do anything. And then what I did, you can tell how much more cleaner it is, especially if you've seen it before, which probably none of you didn't, but it was caked in oil, just like my frame rail, just like everything else under here, because this thing was leaking pretty bad. Only on cold startups leaked huge puddles. And then once it warmed up, the O-rings in there kind of sealed themselves. So whenever you're going back together, what I did, let me back up a bit. What I did was, once I got it out of there, got it all apart, I soaked the oil cooler itself in a 5-gallon bucket full of diesel. That was my solvent. Didn't use any brake clean, none of that stuff. These O-rings, they like to get old after a while. They crack up, they deteriorate. Once they warm up, it'll create a seal, but once it's cold, you'll have puddles of oil. You'll leave puddles of oil everywhere. And I can show you one of my puddles right here. Huge puddles, like that. That was just from a startup one time, I believe. And this is the 5-gallon bucket that I use. It has all types of other junk in it right now. Filled that up with diesel, let it sit in there. The whole oil cooler sat in there, headers and everything. No rubber. Just the oil cooler and the header sat in there for about 2 days. Came out really clean. Made these O-rings slip right on there easily. Okay, so when you're going back in, you have it all assembled. First thing you want to do, you'll want to get the smaller header right up there. You want to get that in first. It doesn't matter. I got the top bolt in started, and then I came right around my long extension. I think I got both bolts started by hand. And I came back around with my long extension right through there, tightened them all up, 10mm, tightened both of those bolts up, and that's just the smaller header alone was in there. So then, and of course, you're going to want to make sure you put some kind of grease or something on your smaller gasket to stay on there. I used Vaseline, stayed on there perfectly fine. Used Vaseline on my O-rings, and with the diesel it just slipped right on there. And this right here, it's a different color because this one is a dormant gasket. This whole kit is a Felpro because I initially put a dormant kit on there. But whenever I had got it together, the oil filter header, I guess with me trying to force it with that block heater still on and get it on, my gasket was not going straight for some reason, and I thought once I tightened it, torqued it down, it would straighten out. That was a mistake. Once I started running, I had coolant coming all down my oil filter, coolant, a little bit of oil, mainly coolant. So I knew I messed something up on there. So I took it apart, went to AutoZone, got the cheap little Felpro gasketing set, which you can see right there. The good thing about it is that I didn't mind is that these gaskets, the two like that, the mounting gaskets, are made in the USA. The rubber parts come from like Taiwan or something like that. Dorman, it's all USA, different. You can tell the difference in the quality of the O-rings, but the quality of the mounting gaskets are the same. So just went ahead and threw that Felpro one in there real quick. Didn't even have to take the whole thing apart, just slid this off out of the way, did a couple of things and got it in there. Another thing I wanted to tell you about is in here there's a pressure relief valve, and mine does not have a snap ring to hold it in. So as soon as I got this off, the whole thing just kind of fell out, and the more I moved it around, it just completely came out. So I looked it up how to get it in there, put it in there right. So when you're taking it apart, if you don't have a snap ring to hold your little relief valve in, try to remember how it goes, or keep it in there, hold it in there, whatnot. And throughout the cleaning process, just try to note how it goes. Once you've got your first header in, the smaller one, you've got all your O-rings on your oil cooler itself, then you slide the cooler in, get that started, and it should kind of hang out there and stay. Then you get all this stuff situated. Of course, your block heater wouldn't be there if you do it the way I'm saying. And then you can have your oil filter header. And I actually saw this on a video. Guys using presses to press these things together. I just don't think that that's smart. You don't even need to. Sorry for turning my phone sideways, but to get this on there, you use a pry bar like so. You're gonna need one of these or something that you can pry with, and you just pry off your exhaust header, push that oil header on there, make sure your tabs are straight so you don't bend them and break anything, and it should pop right on. Once you get that on, you're good to go. You should be all set. Bolt it down, put your block heater back on, your block heater cord, everything. Start it up. I've heard that they may leak a little bit just for a little while until you get it up to operating temperature. Yeah, just make sure, check for leaks, make sure everything's good, put it all back together right, and you shouldn't have any issues. Mine hasn't leaked a drop since, and it's the only clean part on this side below the oil, or from the oil cooler down. But yeah, it was leaking for years when I bought it, I'm sure. And once I fixed the cold start issues, just started leaking even more until I changed it, tackled this job. This was by far the messiest job I've ever done on these 7.3s. You're gonna get oil and coolant everywhere. It seems inevitable. Your shirt, whatever you use, is gonna be filthy. But I was glad I was able to get it done. It was my first time doing it, and I saw all types of videos on YouTube. Some had some helpful things. A lot of them had just things that I wouldn't do. So I wanted to give you guys a little rundown. Hopefully this helps someone and keeps you guys going. All right.